Hey, what is up, mortals? It is TCCrew here with a new video for you. Welcome to part 7 of Season 1 of What If Deku Had 3 Wishes. I just wanted to greet you guys by just saying, sit back and relax. You're in for a treat. So we begin. An attack on UA, even if they won, even if they had the 2 apparent ringleaders in custody, it wasn't a good look. And with what All Might had heard the Shigaraki man-child say about the Nomo having multiple quirks, it was even worse. If All for One was back on the scene, then they could only hope that they managed to hold on to the high-ranking villains they had captured. Or, at least, that's what Nezu was thinking at the moment. The stout-like teacher was of 2 minds at the moment. The 2 streams of thought that mattered, however, were his concern for Aizawa, who looked like he would be making a full recovery with minimal head trauma, or as minimal as could be hoped for from the brute known as Nomu, and his concern for UA and society at large if the old boogeyman of the underworld and All Might's greatest foe was truly at large once more. Nezu sipped his tea as his thoughts continued, only for them to be disrupted by the sound of a knock on his office door. Nezu called for them to enter, and it was greeted by All Might, lacking his typical smile. He sat down as Nezu poured the hero a cup of tea.
So you truly believe that All for One has returned?
What event of a tailor-made anti-symbol of peace possessing multiple quirks have been unleashed against me? He can be the only one capable of creating something such as that.
Well, then what are you going to do? I am going to be ensuring the security of both UA and the up-and-coming sports festival. But you seem to have a path to choose.
What do you mean?
I am assuming you intend to continue along your current plan of training Midoriya's body until he is ready to take on One for All without consequences. Until then, continue your work as the symbol of peace and allowing him to continue to develop his own quirk further.
All Might nodded. What else would there be? With my body healed, I will be likely more than a match for All for One. He wasn't with the League of Villains, and with the beating I gave him last time, he's probably still injured and impaired, even if he is alive.
But what if you don't need to be a match for him? What if you could end the cycle and avoid the final battle
How would we do that?
with the same power that healed you in the first place?
All Might's eyes widened.
I believe you should contact your student, Toshinori.
Midoriya would arrive soon afterward with a lamp in tow, having told his mother that the school wanted to debrief him again about the USJ attack. A flimsy excuse that didn't sit well with her, but Inko trusted her son to not be stupid and then press fodder. Once he arrived in the office, Nezu and All Might had their hands full. After all, Midoriya still hadn't been told about All for One. The explanation of who exactly he was a long one, but Midoriya understood the gravity of the situation. And once he did, Nezu told the 2 his idea. Wish for the League of Villains to no longer have their quirks. The idea shocked Midoriya and All Might. After all, both they knew what it was like to be quirkless in this world. And with that phrasing, they would be sentencing every member to face discrimination and possibly even death in prison. Nezu had his sadistic and cruel moments, particularly towards villains and those who meant his students harm. But seeing as the other 2 were incredibly compassionate and altruistic, even with All Might's pragmatic side, he would need to alter the wish. Something he did reluctantly, as Nezu was still angry that the League had tried to kill his students, the children in his care. But conceding, Nezu instead suggested that they wish for the leaders or inner circle of the League to lose their quirks instead. After all, they were the organizers, and included All for One. That sat better with the 2 kind-hearted people before him. All Might recognize that it would end the cycle and avenge his predecessors, while Izuku knew that society would be safer with them rendered powerless. So, the stage was set. Izuku summoned the genie, gave a yawn and a stretch before asking what the final wish would be used for, to which Izuku responded,
I wish for all for one and his direct servants to lose their quirks and the ability to possess them.
The genie considered the wish for a moment, making sure that it didn't violate the explicit rules. It wasn't a wish for death, it didn't wish for love, and it didn't bring back the dead. All checked. Okie dokie, your final wish is my command. The effects were immediate. While the wishers didn't watch the fallout, it was definitely there. In All for One's hideout, the boogeyman of the underworld felt all of his quirks vanish in an instant, including the one that was keeping him alive, the life force quirk. The oldest man on the planet died painlessly at that moment, but dead he was. Across the country in Jaku Hospital, Dr. Kaido Kuraki, possessor of the same life force quirk, aged rapidly to triple digits and died as well. In the woods of rural Japan, a sleeping giant took his last breath as well. Within the confines of Tartarus prison, Tomoro Shigaraki felt only a twinge of pain and the sensation of his skin rehydrating slightly. He was completely unaware of the significance of these feelings. Not far away, Kurogiri was not so lucky. For those who don't know, spoiler alert, Kurogiri is in fact a Nomo, kept alive by his quirks. I'm sure you can guess what happened next. No more warp gates. Unbeknownst to the wishers as well, the Nomo counted as direct servants of All for One as well. Something tells me they don't feel so good, Mr. Genie. But that was that. Wishes fulfilled. All Might, of course, did ask if All for One was dead, which the genie confirmed. To say the weight of the world felt like it was lifted off of the hero's shoulders would be an understatement. But the genie had a few words to say yet. You should know the underworld will be in turmoil. Groups will likely be fighting to attain greater power. It won't be easy.
I expected as much. We will be ready.
Well, then there's only two more things that I should tell you at this point. Number one, while my powers will be going into recharge, I will still be available to answer certain questions if you need me. I can't provide too much knowledge as the power some of it can hold is vast, but it won't be useless. May as well keep me around so that I don't get bored. The other thing, well, I'm not the only genie.
I didn't think to ask about that in our last conversation. Such a slip is unusual for me.
There is another whose power is coming out of hibernation soon.
Why are you only telling us this now?
Simply because now there is a group after them.
What group?
I can't tell you, but you will find out soon enough. Keep an eye out for a girl. I can't describe her, my hands are being tied now that my energy is out. But you'll know her when you see her. Good luck. The genie recalled himself into the lamp, leaving the room annoyed at how absolutely vague and foreshadowy the jackass could be. But at least the present problem was dealt with. Now, they just had to pretend to have no idea how the League members lost their powers, which was easy with Detective Tsukiguchi on their side. For now, they all looked forward to 2 weeks from now with the sports festival. Honey is a free browsing add-on available on Google, Opera, Firefox, Safari. If it's a browser, it has Honey. Honey automatically saves you money when you check out on sites like Amazon, Papa John's, Kohl's. Whenever you shop, it's a good chance that Honey can save you money. All you have to do when you're checking out at these major sites, click that little orange button and it will scan the entire internet and find discount codes for you. It takes 2 clicks to install Honey. Now, anytime you check out, Honey will scan the entire internet and find coupon codes for you. If there is a coupon code, they will find it. And if there is not a coupon code, you can rest assured that you are getting the best price possible, and there literally is not one available on the internet. If you install Honey right now, you can save like $50 to $100 on your shopping, doing nothing. There's literally no reason not to install Honey. It takes 2 clicks. 10 million people use it. 100,000 5-star reviews. Unless you hate money, you should install Honey. Hero Syndrome. A phenomenon brought on by the presence of quirks that inflated the ego of everyone possessing powerful abilities brought on by elements of entropy or greed. It was what brought down the old rule of the Yakuza, or at least that's how Kai Jizuki understood it. The germaphobe Yakuza member had been working himself and shy Hazakai half to death after the collapse of one of the largest criminal empires in history, happening 4 days earlier. The void left in the underworld was something he could only responsibly chalk up to fate, karma, or some universal power. Whatever it was, it made one hell of an opportunity. Their organization was growing in manpower and control, absorbing what dregs the League of Villains and Associates left. They had quickly been coming into opposition with another group, antithetical to their own. While the Eight Precepts of Death, a rough translation of their name, was poised to bring about the end of the disease known as quirks, the Paranormal Liberation Front was also picking up anything it could. Well, it wouldn't matter soon anyway. Hey, boss. Hmm. Any progress on that lead? Too little to be proud of, but a bit. The boss was right to keep these scriptures and books for so long. There's a location here somewhere. Coded. Yes, it won't be too long though. Within months, our goals can be achieved. And Eri can even be set free. Really? Wow. What use will a quirk-destroying bullet be when there are no longer any quirks to destroy? Vagary's a bitch when you don't have dramatic irony. Anyway, concurrently to Overhaul's frantic abuse of a library, Midoriya was training. Go figure. In just another 2 weeks, he would be on national and international television fighting his classmates. He needed to make sure that he had a fighting chance. He wouldn't win anything if he couldn't go on the offensive. So Midoriya added something else to his strength training, learning how to punch and kick properly. He had a force field, not a regen quirk, so broken fingers and toes would be very bad. All Might had approached Midoriya that day to ask whether he wanted to introduce one for all during the sports festival, but Izuku had declined. He still wasn't ready for the quirk's full power, and he could go through the festival on his own power. All Might hadn't objected. A purely defensive quirk going through the sports festival would show the world that the big flashy quirks that were so destructive weren't the only part of heroics. The rest of UA was doing similar for the most part. Various Gen Ed students were working themselves up to a level they could rival the Hero course, and the two Hero course classes were eager to see what would happen to the spot opened up by Minetta's Gen Ed transfer. Although at least one member of Class 1B was motivated entirely by the desire to show up 1A. I'll let you guess who. A few days before the festival itself, there was a bit of an event. While trying to leave their classroom, the students of 1A suddenly found themselves in a position of zoo animals. A massive crowd of other students had gathered outside their door, seemingly led by a sleep-deprived boy with purple hair and eye bags big enough to hold his textbooks. Both him and one Tetsu, alongside one Nato Monoma and an irate grape, essentially declared war on the class for the student body, something not helped by Bakugo's constant attitude. To say that the festival would be an event would be an understatement in 2 areas now. The day of the festival creeped up on them quickly, and the students all felt prepared, or anxious. But elsewhere, a third party was on a crusade of their own, one that will be covered soon. After all, the hero killer didn't exactly think much about the televising and monetizing of children beating each other into bloody paste, while the world watched their suffering and celebrated their tormentors. Yes, indeed. While a great enemy falls, the world moves on. Crime, evil, and discontent are not limited to a single man. No matter his influence, the world always has a need for heroes. We shall see how it goes. Thank you all for sticking around, and I hope that you enjoyed. Before you leave, we would just like to let you know that We the Celestials has many other channels for entertainment and viewing purposes. All the information you'll need is right below here in the description. So feel free to check out all the other incredible projects our team creates. Secondly, on behalf of We the Celestials, I'd like to thank everyone involved in the production of today's awesome content. Their details will be in the description below. That's all for today's video. So goodbye, and have a divine day.